Good morning, seventh graders. So you're probably only going to hear my voice this week because I want to make sure that my camera is close enough for you to be able to see what I'm doing. So I'm using a whiteboard and I'm going to try very hard to make sure that I draw quite large. Okay? So this week we are going to look at multiplying and dividing integers and multiplying and dividing rational numbers. So we're going to start with the rule. Integers can be also multiplied and divided using an algorithm. In class, we talked about what an algorithm is. An algorithm is a set of rules. When you are multiplying or dividing two numbers, if the signs are both the same, then the answer is going to be positive. So what that means is same sign is going to give you a positive. So for example, a positive times a positive equals a positive. A negative times a negative equals a positive. So a positive times a positive equals a positive. A negative times a negative equals a positive. Same sign, positive sign. Same sign, positive answer. Now what happens when they're different? Well, you know me, I like to use different colors. So different sign, what do you think that's going to be? We've done this in class and we had it on the board. A different sign is a negative. So it does not matter what you're doing. It does not matter if it's a negative times a positive, you're still going to get a negative. Or a positive times a negative, you're still going to get a negative. But Miss T, what do I do when I'm dividing? When you're dividing, it's going to be the exact same thing. When I'm dividing, a positive divided by a positive is going to equal a positive. A negative divided by a negative is going to give me a negative. Same thing. Down here, a negative divided by a positive is going to equal a negative. If it's a positive on the top and a negative on the bottom, I'm still going to get a negative. Okay? So no matter what you do, when you're dividing and you're multiplying, same sign, positive, different sign, negative. Do not confuse this when we are with adding and subtracting. Those are different, it's a different set of rules. These rules, same sign, positive, different sign, negative. Okay? So let's try some examples. Make sure we're still in frame here. And we're going to try some examples. So let's do example number 1. Example number 1, we have 6 times 5. Well, they're both positive. Positive 6 times positive 5 is a positive 30. Easy enough, right? Now, what happens when I put a negative in front of these numbers? A negative 6 times a negative 5 is still going to be a positive 30. Because remember, same sign, positive. Same sign, positive. let's look at if I were to do different. So up here, this is our same. We'll draw a little line underneath so we can separate these. Separate these little bad boys. My second example, I'm going to do different. So I'll put different sign, just so you know that that's what I'm still talking about. We're still talking about the sign. This is our same sign. There we go. So let's look at number 2. If I did 6 times a negative 5, remember, different sign, what am I going to end up with? Hopefully you said a negative answer. You're going to end up with negative 30. What if I did negative 6 times a positive 5? There's still the different sign, right? Different sign. So if it's a different sign, it's still going to be a negative. If you want to take a picture of this example, take a picture of this. Take a screenshot, pause the video, write it down. We're getting ready to move on. Okay? So let's try some other examples. So actually, yeah, we're going to try some other examples. Now, these are just integers. We have not gotten into the other rational numbers. These are just integers. I'm going to make sure that I upload a couple of word problem examples that you can follow along with. You need to do your I need to know what I already know. Make sure you pay attention to the language. Is it telling you to multiply or is it telling you to divide? That means you need to look at what your operational words are. What are my operational words? Okay? If you get confused, please make sure you ask for help. Do not sit there looking confused. It will not help you. So let's do a couple of examples before we finish for today. For this part, I'm sorry. Example number 3. I'm going to do negative 8 times 4. So sometimes you're not going to see a parenthesis over both. Sometimes you're going to see it this way. You still need to know that this means I'm still multiplying. It just looks different. So what is a negative 8 times a positive 4? First of all, what's my answer going to be? Positive or negative? If you said negative, then you are correct, because we have a different sign. This sign is different than this one because this is a positive and this is a negative, which means my answer has to be negative. Okay, so negative 8 times 4 is 32. So the multiplication thing, okay, I get it, Miss T. That makes sense to me. What if Miss T did something like this? Oh boy, Miss T done threw something in there. Negative 32 divided by negative 8. Well, first thing you want to do, what are my signs? Are my signs the same or are they different? They're the same, a negative and a negative. So a negative and a negative are the same sign, which means my answer has to be a positive number. My answer is a positive 4. Recognize the difference. I have a negative 32 and a negative 8. I have to get a positive 4. If you look up here, We have a negative 32 and a negative 8. And then there's what's left is a positive 4. This is why this makes sense. Same sign, positive answer. I've seen negatives on there. That is not correct. You are almost 8th graders. A negative number is not the same as its positive counterpart. They're on opposite ends of the number line. You have to remember that. If you need to use a calculator to confirm what your answer is, then that's what you need to do, my friends. You try and use your mental math first before you pull out the calculator. Use the calculator to just kind of check and make sure you have it correctly. I don't really want you relying on the calculator too much, okay? So this will be the end for the first video. I'm going to come back and we're going to talk about how to do multiplying and dividing our fractions.